Hello, hi, this is Bhavna, and you're watching India Today. I am so excited and also proud to be standing here with the cast and crew of last film show, also called Cello Show, right here. Firstly, a huge congratulations to the entire team for the Oscar nomination. I feel it was such a proud moment for all of us. But I also want to know from you all, firstly, from the director. We'll start with the director here. Uh, when it was announced and when you were told that this is the film which is going as an official entry from India, was it a pleasant surprise or did you think that it can happen?
It was pleasant surprise for me, but Dheer knew it'll happen. And no, it was a great surprise. Somewhere we believed in the film because since couple of months we've been showing around the film, and the reaction have been really, really great. So we knew that something should might happen, because there are 17 jury members who all love cinema. So we thought somewhere this film should touch their heart. But, we never knew so confidently that it'll be us.
And I'm so glad, because it opens a lot of gate for many other filmmakers who believe in projects like this. But like he mentioned, you were perhaps that one person who always knew and believed in it. Where did that belief stem from?
I think it really stemmed from his vision for the film, because when I first met him and I first ever asked him what his backstory was and how he's made such incredible international films like Samsara and Valley of Flowers that have been enjoyed all over the world, how he made that, how he made those. And when he told me that he comes from this small little town in Gujarat, a small village, and without having access to any resources, he was able to teach himself and educate himself on the cinematic art form and the art form of storytelling. I knew somewhere I needed to make this film and make this story. So when he eventually did write a screenplay around it, on script level only I knew that there's no boundary for this film. And understanding how his mind works and how he always wants to push cinematic boundaries, I knew there was no limit, and sky is the limit. And then when we were able to find partners like Sid, we realized that as we show it to more and more people, and as more and more people get attracted to the film, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So when eventually the jury was in debate, and when they were sitting in our application we had made, obviously there's so much noise around everything, but I in my heart somewhere knew that if everything goes well, we should be those, and here we are.
So your instinct was correct.
Absolutely.
Right? But for you, Siddharth, I want to understand, because I have seen that your production house has always been supporting projects which are very, so to say, unconventional as well, while you also do commercial stuff. What made you believe in this project for you to say yes? Because obviously to many it would feel unconventional, right?
So I had the good fortune of being invited to watch the film when it was ready, and I fell in love with it completely. So for me, it was actually a very easy decision to want to be involved, because I had the benefit of watching the product in its final shape and form, and it was beautiful. I had a wonderful experience watching it. My team members as well. We laughed, we cried, we sort of just fell in love with cinema all over again. So when you feel that you've had that experience watching it, then you know that the audience will feel exactly the same, because you are the audience, right? Sometimes we tend to second guess, what will the audience think? I really liked it, but what will they, we sort of overthink it sometimes as filmmakers. So I fell in love with the project, and then I told Dheer and Nalin that I wanted to be a part of it. And I'm so glad that we're on the journey together.
And I'm so glad, because then it becomes a huge project in itself, right? Let's talk to the young star now. I want to know from you, because it is not easy to be a part of a film like this which makes you fall in love with cinema all over again, because उसके लिए आपको भी सिनेमा से उतना ही प्यार होना चाहिए ताकि लोग वापस से सिनेमा से उतना ही प्यार कर सके. So I want to know your story. How did all of this come for you? Like, how did you prep for it? आपने कैसे तैयारी की ये रोल के लिए?
तो जब हम सिलेक्ट होके आए गए थे, फिर हमको सर ने ऐसा कि हम सबको ऐसे छुट्टी दे दी थी कि आपको जो भी करना है जिसके सामने भी एक्टिंग करना है करो. और हमको ऐसे नहीं कहा था कि तुम एक्टिंग करो, एक्टिंग के नहीं, वो उन्होंने कहा था कि तुम ये करो. पर फिर जब कैमरे के सामने आए थे तो हमको डर नहीं लगा था कि इतने बड़े कैमरे हो गए, इतने बड़े कैमरे हो गए, तो उससे हमको डर नहीं लगा था. हम 5 5 बच्चे थे, हमने हमारा टास्क पर ध्यान दिया और हमने इधर आज हमारा लास्ट फिल्म शो में बहुत एक्टिंग अच्छी करी और आपको अच्छा लगा ना?
एकदम बट क्या बिकॉज आप काफ़ी यंग भी हो, ऐसी फिल्म के लिए बहुत एक मेच्योरिटी भी चाहिए होती है, क्योंकि यू नो टू मेक लोगों को प्यार हो जाए उस कैरेक्टर से, उसलिए तो आपने किस तरीके से इसके लिए कुछ फिल्म्स देखी, कुछ मतलब किस तरीके से तैयारी की इस चीज़ के लिए, मुझे वो जानना है आपका प्रोसेस।
तो मैंने तो कोई फिल्म नहीं देखा था, सिर्फ नलिन सर जो कहते थे वो मैं करता था। हाँ, नलिन सर कहते थे कि ये करो तो हम ये करते थे। नलिन सर के हाँ में हाँ और ना में ना, वही हम करते थे।
नहीं, कभी कभी तूने बोला था नहीं ये डायलॉग में बदल के बोलूं,
और
बोला था ना?
हाँ, और नलिन सर जब भी कोई भी डायलॉग कहते हैं तो मैं मेरे को जो भी मांगता है मैं ऐसे बोल देता हूँ। ऐसे बोलते हैं नलिन सर कि पहले ऐसे बोलते हैं मारे आ જોઈએ છે, तो હું એમ કહું મારે આ પણ જોઈએ છે, હું એમ डायलॉग बदल देता हूँ। और फिर नलिन
डाल के देते थे
और फिर नलिन सर कहते थे कि अब तुमको जो भी करना है कर लो, अब मैं तो साइड में रहता हूँ।
बट नलिन सर,
He really had this humor which was really great. मैं बोला अभी मुझे ये चाहिए, तो फिर सर मैं बट डाल के दे दूं, मैंने बोला उसका क्या मतलब है गुजराती में? कहता है बट मुझे ये भी चाहिए। So he has done many good lines, and he has figured out, and that was the strength of his role, because he was so much in his role that he knew that how to use that Kathiawadi dialect to enrich the language.
and brings more authenticity
Yes,
to the character as well, I believe, right? But also I want to understand, where did this process of writing even start for you? Because of course I'm sure you are aware and you have even in fact reacted on Twitter that inspiration bolo, copy bolo, kuch bhi bolo, you'll obviously know on the 14th of October when you watch the film. But the possibility or the conversation around it being inspired, does it even bother you, and when did this process start?
It doesn't bother me at all, because I know I have made an honest film, which everyone who have known me over the years, they know my story, and it was something I never thought I would do, but destiny had other plan. So, the film is inspired from my childhood. It's also inspired from the projectionists whom I knew, so it's a mix of these two stories. Not only that, I've even shot where I grew up. Right. You would see many elements, you see the same meter gauge train, you'll see my school, you see the cinema where I saw my first movie. We sort of refurbished it for the film. So it's that way pretty well connected, to the point that even when we were shooting, my sister, they all came with, food is a very important element. And he said, look, my parents always loved the tiffin. So he said, we still have kept it. Why don't you use it? It's in the movie. So we have a lot of, for Gujaratis, the galla, where you keep money is a super important. And my father, so in the tea stall, my father had this galla, and when everything changed, he still kept it. He said, this is good luck. I will never let it go. So when we shot the film, they brought it out and say, okay, let's keep the galla which used to be on the chai stall. So for me, it is a very personal story. And because it's cinema about cinema, there is no way I could have escaped talking about cinema I love. There are so many filmmakers who inspire. That starts from South India superstar Rajnikant or Manmohan Desai to, Tarkovsky and Godard. And the film world is so big, and I thought this is my only chance in my lifetime to do that. There is not going to be any other opportunity. I can't do movies like Angry Indian Goddesses and talk about Godard, it won't work. So in a way, without ruining the story, there are layers, which people can enjoy. But overall, people will know 14th October is very close. And I think they should really go with full family to watch the film. And, you will see his amazing work, our team who has done amazing work. And I think film will speak for itself.
I will also let the film do the talking for itself and clarify all the judgments and criticism that people have. But for you, as producers, when you see a film like this get a platform and the reach that it has now, how much that motivates you to also take risks and support films which traditionally people would at least have cynicism about, supporting. Also because OTT has come into picture, there's just so much scope for different stories to be told. How do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think like risk assessment for any producer, and I think Sid will be better to speak on this because he's obviously, his body of work will speak for itself. But risk assessment is something that we always begin each journey with. Like when you read a script, you try to understand how to reduce risk the most and how to increase the chance of reward the most. It is, you know, cinema is a high risk, high reward kind of business. Having streamers and stuff has changed that slightly now for producers. But essentially risk assessment will be there. But then when you're working with a filmmaker like Nalin in a story like this, which is so personal to him, and at its essence has so many themes built into it. Like it's not just for film lovers, because I have, like me, I'm not a huge film buff. Like I watch a lot of cinema and I'm a student of cinema, but I'm not a huge film buff. I've not watched every single Japanese classical filmmaker, while he may have, right? So for me, what attracted me to this film was not only the love of cinema, it was the food, it was the friendships, and it was something which is the most important thing, what Nalin calls the future, right? Because we all think about our future. Like we think when you're his age, you're thinking about the future. When you're me, you're thinking about where my company will be 5 years from now. But this whole idea of growing and growing beyond one's capacity is something that really spoke to me. So like there's a line, one of the lines that we use as a through line through the film is that when you have nothing, nothing can stop you. Or when you have nothing to lose, nothing can stop you.
That's actually a very wonderful.
Yeah, and that's essentially where the kind of energy that the film was made with. Because when we were starting to make the film, we didn't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
Like we just knew that all we had was to win. So when you have, that's your only goal, you're not thinking about the negatives. So while yes, risk assessment and stuff is important, sometimes it's just great to get on a ride. And yes, it's challenging and there's a bunch of roadblocks to cross. But when you do that, it's a really satisfying outcome.
I will come back to that again, because I think budget and all of this is very important when you're coming together with a film. But just to take that forward, do you have anything to add?
I think in films, if you're not taking risks, then you're not really, you aren't in the right business. This is the business of taking, calculated risks all the time. And if you're not taking risks with the type of stories you're telling, that means you're not pushing the envelope. That means you're dishing out more of the same. That means you're expecting the audience to keep lapping up what they might have in the past. And really, this is about being able to bring audiences something that they've never knew that they wanted, right? Yeah. So it's very, very important to keep pushing the envelope. And I think if you can do that as a producer, while obviously being sensible about your budgets and about what your estimated recoveries would be, etc., you can't base your script decisions on precedent. You have to base it on where you believe audiences are going. Exactly.
Yeah, I think, and with your production house and yours, you all have been doing that for quite some time, and this is one of the examples. But I also want to understand, after the film was announced as the official entry, were there people who perhaps did not believe in the film earlier, who came back and who were like, यार अच्छी film बनाई है, हमको भी देखनी है, काश हम उस वक्त, we should have supported this one. Did you have people who came back and said something?
I can't name them. What was good is they called, and honestly, they were abusing themselves on my phone call. What a stupid person I am, what an idiot, and I should have done this. And I said, okay, you said it. Yeah, absolutely. But, somewhere we knew that we were figuring out, since several months, with Roy Kapoor Films team, Dheer's team, and we were screening because we believed in the film, that let's just go and show. Way before the announcement started, we are screening in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Chennai. We knew that we have to create buzz so that by the time we come to the 14th October date was already announced way before, that we will be releasing, and we were still figuring out how to market, who should we support. Yeah. So certain people who saw the film would just open up, like there was maybe somebody who owned a lot of billboard and hoarding site and said, I'll offer you free. Or one guy, Vetri Cinema, Mr. Hari Dev in Chennai, he said, I don't know what happens to the film. You might not find distributor, but I own 2 cinema hall. I will run 5 shows a day. I love your movie. Bring it here. Yeah. So that was so moving. That's a single screen in Chennai. This film is in Gujarati. And I said, are you serious? Kal laga do. So and then he helped us. He came to meet us, and he said, I'll take you to meet this Tamil star, and you should meet this one in Chennai. So I knew that something is happening, that there is people are falling in love with the film, and they are probably admiring the honesty and organic nature and authentic storytelling, I guess.
You know, and I think that's the best reward for a director, right? When people who did not believe in the film come back and say that we made a mistake. And I think that's the biggest reward for a director as well, apart from, of course, the Oscar nominations. I mean, no one can beat that. Because to both of you, you said that you fell in love with the film and its concept and its ode to cinema. But is there one thing in particular or one scene in particular which moved you, like the best part of the film, according to you?
You know, I don't want to give away too much before
Oh,
people
you
watch
can.
the film. But there's one part which I guess you call the all is lost moment in a film, which is you know, it's very moving, and I'm not going to say any more. But that obviously, you know, as someone who's then very deep into the film by that point of time in the narrative, it moves you very much emotionally, and then, you know, you're brought out of it by Nalin. So
Of course, I mean. What about you?
For me, I think it was really about this one scene where, again, I don't want to give away too much, but I think I already may have earlier. But there's this one scene with the projectionist and with Samay, where, you know, Samay very nice, you know, very innocently asks him, because he's looking at these film putties, right? And he's helping him put it into the projector, and he asks him, he's like, where do these films come from? Because he doesn't even know. For him, it's not even clear, oh, there's a camera and it was shot and then it was processed and edited. For him, it's just some sort of magic, right? So he asks him where this film comes from. And instead of going into like, oh, the film comes from this and filming, the guy gives him a really, really interesting answer. And I think that's something that I want people to go and experience, because that idea that he puts out there is the reason what attracted me and made all of us, I think, put in, those hundreds and thousands of man hours into making the film possible.
Now, before I end this, I also want to know, when you have a kid, Nalin, so especially to you, when you have someone who is immature as an actor, you know, when you have to direct him in a film which is very important to you and very dear to you also, what is your process like to communicate with him? Because he doesn't understand the grammar of acting. He comes from a place where he's a new age actor who is more prone to reels than camera or the setup, right? So how do you converse with him and make him understand?
I think one of the reason he's saying acting, and also, you know, the principal rules were that no one will utter around the kids word like script, acting, continuity. You know, all this was kept away, you know, and so even discussion happened hush-hush with the edit team, it will be far, because that could be really misleading and confusing, this idea of sync sound and all. So they were prepared to keep their natural body language, their way of speaking, talking as much as possible. That was the first thing. But before that, the big challenge was really in the casting, you know, to go through thousands of kids, because that was the battle won for any filmmaker. When you have right cast, you know, okay, now I feel the story can breathe, because that was the most important. And there were many depressing moments in that, rather than making him not act, you know. And so when we had all these kids, you know, the way they went into their characters and got along, they were known as Lala Gang from Chalala. That's the name of the village. So 6 of them, you know, the youngest one to the eldest one, they were all there together. They didn't know each other. And I think they just understood their character. So we did not narrate even the script in detail to them. You know, they did not know what's going to wait, where the film will end up. Like Bhavin did not know. Bhavin, आपको पता नहीं था कि film end में कहाँ जाएगी, राजकोट में, factory में, you know, कि क्या होने वाला है. Yeah, so in a way, because, you know, if you burden him, then he starts thinking about that. Yeah, so I think it's you know, with children, you have to be careful with so many things, you know, in a way that how are they going to feel comfortable with 150 people crew, big camera, cinemascope lenses are huge, you know, and I love close up and getting into his eyes, you know, and he'll say, thoda dur rakho, thoda dur. I said, nahi, abhi aur nazdik aane wala hai.
But let me tell you, इन्होंने जो close-ups लिए हैं, इसी के वजह से वो emotion इतना उभर के बाहर भी आया है. तो it's a job well done. Lastly, of course, I have to ask you this, because the nominations also, I mean, I know it's the most cliched question you have been asked, but RRR comparison, the disappointment fans had, how do you respond to that? Because obviously a section, while they are not disappointed with the fact that this film has been nominated, they're just disappointed that RRR was not nominated. How do you look at that?
I think, how would I say that? I mean, normally, you know, I think richness of our country is that we have all kind of cinema. I mean, we make films in so many languages, and each one has its own place. Now talking about the Academy and FFI, it's altogether something else. So it is normal that there's a popular film, there's a fan following which already came out, has maybe mega stars, and so there is a assumption, passion, lot of things are linked to it. So we definitely came out of nowhere as a surprise. So it's normal. I think India is not the only country. If you look, wherever Oscar entries have been announced, in France also there are disappointment, in Hong Kong, I just read about Korea, half the people are disappointed. So it is, ultimately the rule is the Academy has to send a one film, so this is something, and also our film is not released yet. So I can't blame people, when they see it, I know they will change. If you go and look, a lot of comments already on the trailer, people are literally written that, I have come to hate this movie, but I see the trailer, like it. Maybe it's good movie. So already if it's happening with trailer, I hope with the film, people will support us, because after all, we are going to represent India. And we want everyone to be behind us, helping us, and we don't want to fight any bad energy and all that. We just want to go with positive spirit. We believe we have made a good, honest film. We really thank FFI and the jury for selecting us. And I know that already the film has been viewed by quite a few Academy members and the response has been very positive. So now we plan to work with Samuel Goldwyn Films, Orange Studio, Roy Kapoor Films, Jugaad. We all are going to go there all out to make sure that the maximum Academy member watch the film. And that's our aim. The more they watch, we know more heart and more vote we are going to win.
Fingers crossed, and all the very best to the entire team.